Welcome to Here's the Thing, where we speak to interesting people about interesting subjects, that go on in our community and around the world. Today we have a very, very special guest, someone that I actually like and admire, but it won't prevent me from asking her the tough questions. And she's been through a little bit of an experience, but Ema Dantas is the president and CEO of Language Market Plan, International Translation Experts. She's the founder of 𝗍𝗺𝗀𝗀𝗀 Foundation, which deals with mental health issues, and is currently supporting 𝗀𝗊𝗋, but doesn't mean that other organizations won't be supported by 𝗍𝗍𝗺𝗀𝗀. And she's a mountain climber extraordinaire. She really has conquered the peaks of the world, the highest peaks of the world, and it's something that most of us can only dream about. And she's one of the reasons I personally have taken to also try to climb some of these peaks, just to understand what this brings to you and to yourself as a person and as an individual. And so I want to say welcome to Ema Dantas to the program Here's the Thing.
Hi, Manuel. Thank you so much for having me. And of course, your always undivided support and your support through Everest and my adventures, and to Peaks for Change.
Well, Ema, I was looking forward to speaking to you today because, because of various issues. I mean, this week is Mental Health Week, and on this weekend is Mother's Day. So there's quite a bit going on, and just a few days ago we didn't think you would be in Toronto just yet, but here you are, and you were at Everest, and which is was your seventh attempt at the highest peak, and and of course this time it didn't work out, but there's always a future that you can try again. You obviously abandoned this project for health reasons. Explain a little bit what you felt up in that mountain, and what brought you to the conclusion that this time wasn't the right time for you, even though we don't know what the future is going to bring.
I actually started feeling bad when I arrived to 𝗍𝗀𝗀𝗀, so that was our first stop in the conduz trek that you can do walking to base camp. And usually if you're climbing the south, which I was, you do the trek by foot, and it helps with acclimatization. It also has the thing that it's not a very clean place. And a lot of people get sick, and that had been one of my biggest fears since day one, and that's why I always had the intention of going through the north side, which was the Tibet side. But last year obviously closed. This year Tibet also didn't open to foreigners. They only opened to 40 Chinese individuals. Anyhow, I started getting sick on the second day, and it was a lot of stomach problems, throwing up, so much to the point that throughout my trek, even like on the tea houses, there's public bathrooms, everybody shares a bathroom. The guiding company kept making sure that I actually had a bathroom in my own room. Just that is how sick I was.
Was there adequate medical help for you, or it's just something that it's adequate but it's not?
It's adequate, but it's not. The guides did the best they could. I had my own antibiotics that we have to take with us, and I took them all, and nothing helped. Anyways, I kept going all the way to base camp, and we were there actually more time in base camp than we first anticipated on the schedule, because there was a couple of avalanches that fell on the 𝗏𝗶𝗴𝗀, so we couldn't go. We had to let the route to be rerouted. I just kept falling weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And there was hardly anything I can keep up. I drank a lot of 7-Up. I started drinking 7-Up, and for some reason that was the only thing I can keep down. But as you know, like you've climbed, that in order to climb something, you not only have to be at 100%, you have to be at 100%.
120%.
So when you are trying to do something and you know that you're no longer at that 100%, now you're at 60 and at 50, and you're trying to complete something that you're not only putting your life at risk, then you start thinking that you're going to put somebody else's life at risk.
Yeah, you got to think of the others in the group, because I mean, when you go in a group, you know, it's like a team, and you're there to support each other, and you're there to help each other. So there's a certain concern for the others.
And not only even the team, but also the guides, and in this case the Sherpas, even though there were so many concessions, and they had made contingency plans for me and sat down with me and said, well, maybe we can do this and we can do that, we can get you the Sherpas to take your backpack. But my issue was not my backpack that had 14 pounds actually in it, because I trained with 60. My issue was that I actually needed to go to the bathroom every half an hour, and on the 𝗏𝗏𝗴𝗀, I can't take my harnesses off.
Yeah, you can't take your clothes off. You can't take the harnesses off. It's because you carry a lot of clothing.
Right, and my harness, and when you're with a rope, because you're tied into a rope, there's crevasses right at your foot. And when we attempted going through the first day, we were going to Camp 1, and I was so sick, and then we made the decision that we're going to turn back to base camp so that I can rest a little bit and see if I would get better. I saw how much the guide in charge of me and the Sherpa did to bring me down safely. And then I started thinking, how can I repeat this 6 times? Because the acclimatization is a repeat to 6 times for the summit. And how can I do this safely, for not just for me, but also for what would have been the Sherpas and also the guide. And I made the decision that I just couldn't do it anymore. I was so weak, and it's not me. Like you said, I've climbed every other mountain, and I've never felt this way. I've never felt so not me. I would take a step, and a step was hard to take. From my tent to the dining tent to the bathroom tent, it was hard to walk.
Look, you know, most of us that know you, we understand that you're not a common woman. You're an uncommon woman. Tell us what makes you uncommon as a woman. And the reason I ask is that there's so few people that have attempted to do what you've done since 2017. And, you know, when I read that phrase that you said, I cried within the walls of my tent, I had this vision about you being in that tent and the walls closing in around you. And you're saying to yourself, well, you know, I have to make this decision regardless of how hard it is. So tell us a little bit about why you're so uncommon and how much strength it took for you to make that decision.
Well, I don't know if I'm uncommon, Manuel, but I know that it was so important to me to finish Everest, and everything in me, and I spent 2 days and thinking about it and putting it in my head and still hoping, and I was going to take 12 hours at a time. But then I thought, I can't do it this safely because I'm in no physical condition, and I do want to come back home because Everest is dangerous. And when you can't no longer comprehend that there's an avalanche coming at you and you're so out of it, and then with the altitude, I started crying because I thought I was letting everybody down. And then I started messaging the kids and I said, I can't do this. And they started messaging me back saying, you can do this, you've trained so hard. But it was at that moment that I thought, it's not that I can't do it physically or that I don't want to. I am so ill that I can't do it. And because of mental health, then I started thinking, we always think about mental health that we always have to pretend, and we always have to make up things, and we always have to pretend that we're happy. And then I thought to myself, it would be really hypocritical of me trying to pretend that I can go and do something that I really can't do it, because the past 20 days had made me so weak that I could no longer do what I could do and I thought I could do at home. And the only way to say it was to tell the truth. Part of, and I know that if you read what I wrote on Facebook, it wasn't something that, and it was what happened. I was one day that we were training on the ice fall to see how the ropes were and the ladders and get us acquainted. I literally lost control of myself, of my bowel movements, as a child would. I'm 53 years old, and that was embarrassing.
Yeah, that should have been a sign that and I guess you were, as you said, you're facing your fears, your demons, your anxiety, and all of these conditions that came upon you. Because one of the reasons that I said that you're an uncommon woman was because you are actually not comfortable with heights, and so mentalizing yourself to the point that you actually climb all of these peaks, that's not a normal person.
Well, maybe not, and I think so, but I did want to try, and to the point that that even when I had an accident, and the guides did radio to base camp so that they would have the shower outside ready for me. And I thought, okay, I can still do this, there's no shame, we're going to do this, this is how it's going to be. But when I started going up, and I just my body was saying something no. And when we had a small avalanche happen, that I saw the cloud, and that's when I went back to my tent and I cried. It's because then I started thinking that cloud, I actually didn't process it, and I was under it. It was coming at us, and I'm hearing on the radio the other guide telling one guide, Fisher, to duck, because we needed to duck because it was coming at us. And I'm just like, oh wait, where's the rope? When you're not feeling well and you can't be 100% on the mountain, it becomes a liability.
Of course.
And so many people have died,
yeah.
Especially in the 𝗀𝗶𝗶𝗀 ice fall, and that was one of my biggest fears. And for me to see, I still visualize that cloud coming, because the crevasse just fell into the other crevasse, so it was only the cloud that was coming at us of the dust of the snow. And I thought, if I couldn't perceive that as danger, how would I be able to continue going and not misplace a foot and slip? And even though I was tied to a rope, then I would be putting other people in danger to try and take me out of a crevasse.
Well, while you were there, did you ever think for yourself if you were mentally and physically prepared for this climb?
When I got there and when I left, I was 100%. The first 2 days in 𝗏𝗶𝗃 that we had climatization, I thought it was awesome. It was the greatest place. And it was just like at the end of the second day that I started feeling bad, and I'm going, and then the guides started going, no worries, this happens at the beginning. It's way to get away, out of it. It's better getting sick here than a base camp, and I'm totally pumped. And then, and then the days come going, and you're still not feeling better, and then you're starting to throw up in the middle of your hike, and then,
Yeah.
and then it keeps going.
So you were prepared, but you weren't prepared for the medical issues that came along with it, because nobody ever is. I mean, we can twist a foot, anything can happen, and unfortunately, you have. Explain just a little bit what it takes to prepare to go and climb Everest for yourself. What did you have to do prior to prepare yourself? You don't have to explain everything, but just to give people an idea.
Well, it ended up being 2 years, but basically, I trained every single day. I did weights. I hiked on weekends with 60 pounds on my back. I did 5 to 6 hours. This winter, I did a lot of snowshoeing, but hiking, just because of COVID and so forth. And with a big backpack. I run as well during the day, so for cardio. Mentally, I also prepared that you had to be away for 2 months, away from family. You have notebooks, you have movies to watch in your tent, you have comfy food you take with you. All that was there. You have comfy clothes, you have a comfy nice pair of down boots to put in your tent. That's part of all of training and getting there. Unlike other mountains that I knew, sometimes I always get really anxious about them. I wasn't anxious about Everest. I don't know why. It was interesting because I knew that I had a really good team. I knew in my head it was going to be my last mountain. It was going to be awesome. I knew that after 21,000 feet, which is more or less what 𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀 is, and I knew that I didn't have oxygen in 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀, and if 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀 was fine, that we would get oxygen. So I was totally comfortable with that, and I'm like, I can do this. There's oxygen. There's no problem whatsoever. I've gotten sick. I've climbed my first mountain when I was training for 𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀's pyramid, and which was the first one. I had broken 3 ribs. I trained all day with 3 ribs broken. I never had a problem. An illness, to be honest, Manuel, never crossed my mind. I had been ill in Russia, in 𝗿𝗵𝗄𝗃, like 2 or 3 days, because everybody gets, stomach problems. Still made it up at 50 kilometers wind at the summit.
Yes.
It never occurred to me that I would be at the bottom of the 𝗏𝗃𝗃 icefall training, and that I would be subjected to being a baby and just losing control of your abilities to control your bodily functions.
In your, I know it must be awful. In your postings and so on, you mentioned Jesus quite a bit. How much did you appeal to him during this time?
Oh, I begged him. I know that Jesus, everybody has their own beliefs. Climbing the last 3 years, I have found that he has always been with me, and only if you are there and feel the things. I know 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃, there's one little path that you walk, and then it's like this, only your foot, and we had been training in below on how to, because it's always high winds, and how to brace ourselves for the high winds, because there's always high winds. And I started fearing because of my fear of heights. And I remember starting to go and getting to that section, and I was talking to myself, having a conversation with Jesus, going, okay, this is what we're going to do today. And to be honest, the wind stopped, and the guys were like, it's really weird. There's no wind today. And I'm going, yeah, because he's over here, God's my back. I have begged so much to guide me through the 𝗀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀, to make me feel better. We had a big talk when I was putting my crampons on off in my backpack to go in, that I was good, that I was not to go to the bathroom until Camp 1. And it didn't work out that way. And I know I mentioned this, but I do feel this. It is, I don't know. I felt that I was cold, that there was something dark, and I don't know how to explain it without just saying it. It's the truth, how I felt. It was the darkness of a place that I felt in the 𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀. It was the darkness, and if you go back and a lot of and read a lot of stories about climbing, that is where all the deaths occur. And I don't know, I felt that there was just a darkness and a sadness of that place.
You were going into a place that you didn't want to be, and obviously you recognize that. But you know, Ema, as I said to you, I've gotten inspiration from you into climbing mountains, which I'm going to continue doing, as you will. There's no shame to fail, to cry, or to say that I can't. There's only shame if we say, I'm not going to do it again, or I'm not going to do it anymore, because you can. And so this is how I look at your next step, is to say that I can and I will. Maybe from the other side. You never know.
And that was one thing that when I was leaving, I'm like, okay, to bedside, here we come. But, and even my family, when they came, even my daughter that's getting married next year, she's like, you can go next year to bedside? My wedding's just at the end of June. You're still back in time.
I'll start training now, okay?
Yeah, we will go together.
All right.
It's an amazing mountain. It's an amazing place. This year as well, though, because of COVID, it does have a lot of issues.
Yes.
My first comment when I posted that I had left, there's a gentleman named Robert Anderson. He's he's done all the 7 summits, including various attempts in different facets of Everest, and succeeded, and has a couple of books written. And he messaged me and said, you made the right decision for various reasons. It made me feel a little bit more, okay, I could get sick, because Robert has attempted at least various times to rock climb Everest and so forth, even without oxygen, and many times he has turned around.
And that's what it's about. As long as we understand ourselves and why we're doing it, we're not doing it for anyone else. We're doing it for ourselves first and foremost.
Exactly.
And that's why we can always accept a decision, that we make our decision. Nobody makes it for us. And that's what it's about. Ema, this is Mental Health Week. What should be people reflecting on, especially this week?
Well, I think that if people just take what I've gone through, sometimes that we feel down, humiliated, that we're letting people down, and that you feel like you can't leave your tent because you're just crying, and you can know that everybody else around you is hearing you cry in your tent because the walls are so thin, that maybe we can all reflect that it's not always important what other people think. It's not always important how other people are going to judge us. It's more important on what we think of ourselves. And sometimes, like you said, if you see something as a failure, they can't be a failure. Everything that we do, even if we don't succeed, is a lesson learned. I've learned that I might have stomach problems. So maybe next time I need to address them differently and be more prepared and take other meds. And if we're going to learn anything on Mental Health Week, and if you're going to learn from my example, is that we should be open with each other. And that's how we're going to end the stigma. And by being honest about our lives and how we do things and our feelings, at the end, it makes us feel better because we're just human. We're all human. We feel, we cry. It's not just a very pretty social media Instagram account that only good things happen. We all have problems. We all have bad days. We all cry. We all suffer, and we all need caring, and we all get sick, but we all get well.
A lot of people, because of society, are mental health deniers, and they live with this stigma that nobody recognizes their entire lives. What would you say to someone like that to bring them out of their shell?
I saw my mom, Manuel, for almost 20 years not get out of her couch, and not because she didn't have the will to smile. I would say that you should just go and look at my Facebook page and see what I went through, and there's nothing to be ashamed of.
I did read it, and it just instead of making me sad, it inspired me and made me happy to see the honesty of your words, and that's what people should take from that. This is not about failure. This is about a lesson in life.
And I think that that's what we all have to think about with mental health. To be honest, the last few days, I've cried a lot on my couch, and there's days that I'm so tired still that it's hard for me to get up, and maybe because I'm in lockdown because of the travel, so I can't leave the house. It's making me feel more trapped. But then at the same time, I know that I have to get out of the couch because
you do.
I did nothing wrong.
No, you did. You did a lot. You didn't do anything wrong. You did a lot right.
We need to, and we all need to take a breath and just say, okay, well, this is what happened. I've learned this lesson, and I know it's hard, and I know that there's tears that accompany. But with every tears, we can also see the possibility that if we wipe our tears off, what lesson we learned, and we can just feel a little bit better.
Peaks for Change obviously will continue the foundation and to raise money. 𝗀𝗃, you're part way to raising what you want to raise, $700,000. What are the future or the short-term plans to continue the campaign, Ema?
So the short-term plans, the 7 summits, was to complete the 7 summits, and I'll have to talk to the board if we're going to consider them complete. Because it's not always about the summit, but with Peaks for Change, we want to continue working with the community, and especially the elderly community and the younger community that are suffering with mental health and mental health issues. And the goal is still to continue to drive it home that we have to end the stigma, that we have to get out of that shell that mental health is not important or it doesn't exist, because it exists more than ever, and our mental health controls every fiber of our physical health.
Well, I'm looking forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you to continue this campaign. It's a very worthwhile campaign, and as a mom, I'm sure that your children are happy that you're back and you're getting healthy, and that's what's important. So continue to get better and bring your health back.
Thank you, and I'm happy that I'm home. Even though my granddaughter I was unpacking, she had put a little note on my summit close day saying, "You did it," and it made me cry because she anticipated that I did it.
But you did it. You did it. You just didn't get all the way up. That's all.
It was in my little.
Thank you, Ema. I really appreciate.
She writes me a note.
I really appreciate these words, and hope to see you in person very soon and continue with the Peaks for Change campaign.
Thank you, Manuel. Thank you so much for your support as well, and I look forward to seeing you soon as well.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ema.